This is the sixth and the last video to explain Achilles. Page number 86, last sentence. Achilles also developed a passion for human company. So once he was taken to the villa to live with the humans, so he started to love human company. And whenever humans were around, he was happy. He would be happy. Let anyone come into the garden, and they would be rustling among the bushes. And if anyone come into the garden, there would be a sound in the bushes, paper-like sound. And Achilles' wrinkled and earnest face would poke through, and Achilles would poke through the bushes. He would come, he would show himself quickly through the bushes. He would pop out. If you were sitting in a chair, he contented himself with getting as close to your feet as possible, and there he would sink into a deep sleep. And if you were sitting and if anyone would sit on a chair in the garden, he would get close to his feet, and there he would eventually fall asleep. If we were lying on a rug, sunbathing, he would surge down the path and onto the rug with an expression of bemused confusion. And if you were sunbathing in a park on a rug is a small carpet, and if you were sunbathing on a small carpet, he would quickly come down the path and eventually onto the rug, and he would come down quickly onto you with a sort of confusion on his face and a sort of humor. He would survey you and then choose a portion of his body on which to press mounts. And he would look around, look at your feet, look at your arms, and choose a portion of your body to climb on. So he would climb on you. If you shook him off, it would only give a temporary respite, for Achilles would circle the garden until you find you again. So if you shook him off, if you hit him off, or hide yourself from him, so this will give you a temporary comfort, because he would find you anywhere in the garden again. Then one day the garden gate was left open, and Achilles was nowhere to be found. And one day the garden gate was left open. The gate of the garden was left open where the Achilles used to live in the garden, and someday the gate was left open. And they could not find Achilles, and Achilles was nowhere in the garden. Search parties were immediately organized, and the family wandered about the olive groves, shouting, "Achilles, strawberries, Achilles, at length we found him." And the search parties, and they started to search him everywhere and shouting, "Achilles, strawberries, hey Achilles, here are the strawberries," because he liked the strawberries most. They thought he would come after the strawberries if he is hiding somewhere. But at length, and after a long time, and after a while, they found him. He had fallen into a well, the wall of which had long descended, and he had fallen into a well, and Achilles had fallen into a well, the wall of which had damaged long time ago, and the wall of which had fallen a long time ago. He was to our regret quite dead, and he was to our sadness, to our, they were sad, and they thought, and they were sad, they were sorry about leaving the gate of the garden open. He was quite dead, and he was dead, completely dead. Even Leslie's attempts at artificial respiration and Margot's suggestion of forcing strawberries down his throat to give him, as she explained, something to live for. And they tried their best. They tried to respirate him artificially. They pushed oxygen through his face, push it into his lungs, and they attempted. And Margot, living in the villa, and she suggested that we should force down strawberries into his mouth, down his throat, but he failed to get any response, and he did not respond to any of such attempts. His corpse was buried in the garden under a small strawberry plant, and he was buried under a strawberry plant. A short funeral address read in a trembling voice by Larry made the occasion memorable. And a short funeral address, and a funeral address means the words. Funeral address are the words said at the funeral of a dead person. Word is said at the funeral, and something was said by Larry in a trembling voice, in a shaking voice, because they had a tragedy made the occasion memorable, and this occasion was memorable and to be remembered for a long time. It was only marred by Roger, who, in spite of all my protests, insisted on waging his tale throughout the burial service. It was only marred and it was only spoiled. The funeral procession was only marred or made unpleasant only by the Roger, which was the pet dog. He insisted, despite my lot of protesters, and I tried to control him a lot, but he did not obey, and he insisted on waging. He circled around the burial service, waging his tail.